Hello, I'm Anne Kerr. Welcome to my art studio. When we think about painting or drawing mountains, it can seem very complicated. So in this video, I'm going to show you a very easy way of breaking the task down into 3 simple stages. So, are you ready? When we do any task in life, it helps if we can break it down into easy, simple stages. Think about planning a holiday and all the things you have to do before that holiday comes together. Well, painting and drawing is no different. If we plan ahead, break it down into simple stages, then life becomes so much easier. So, let's plan a mountain. When we think about drawing a mountain, we look at the mountains and we think, where on earth do I start? It is so complicated. Well, as we've just said, anything that we draw or paint, we need to break down into little manageable sections. So if we look at these mountains, you can see that they're made up mainly of triangles, or a triangle with the top cut off. So you can see these little triangular shapes everywhere on the mountains. Now, a mountain is not flat. It's obviously got bits sticking out, ridges and areas like that, which are made up of blocks of stone. So a mountain is basically a triangle shape with blocks of stone. So we can take that information and use that to draw our mountain. So a mountain is basically a triangle, or a triangle with the top cut off where it's weathered. So that's our basic mountain shape, and we know that we've got blocks of stone on the mountain. Well, let's look at a block. Here's a block. So that's just an ordinary block. So if we change this block, we can actually make it look like a block of stone. And that's what the mountain is made up of. So let me show you. So here's our little block. And we can put in some shading to make it look more like a block. Now, if we change that into a slightly different shape, make sure that's on the camera, yes it is. So if we change it slightly, it's still a block shape, and put in a little bit of shading, look what we've got. We've got a rock. And all we did was to take that basic block shape, put a few wriggly sides on it, put on a bit of shading, and we've turned it into a rock or a stone. Now, how easy was that? Now, if we take lots of blocks and put them together, we get a pile of stones. And then if we take that pile of stones and put some shading in, look. And all we used to begin with was a basic block shape. We changed its contours, we put in a bit of shading, and now we've got a pile of blocks. Well, a mountain is no different. A mountain is nothing but a pile of blocks all put together in the shape of a triangle. Right, let's make a mountain. Here I've got the outline of a mountain, or one big mountain and 2 little ones at the back. See the basic triangular shape? Not just you know, not just a smooth pointed triangle like we did here, but just a more interesting shape of the triangle. So now that we've got the basic shape of the triangle, let's put in some blocks. We'll stick the blocks onto the mountain, and I'll do them in red so you can actually see them. So here are my blocks going onto the mountain. Now if my light is coming this way, then I'm going to have some shading on my blocks on this side of the block. So here's another block, and put in some shading. I'm not going to bore you to death by doing all these, but I will just do one or two, and then by magic we'll find one that I did earlier. A bit like Blue Peter, isn't it? Do you remember Blue Peter? Where they used to make things and then they produced one from under the desk, which is exactly like the one they were demonstrating, but it was completely finished. Now here's another block up here, and here's another block, and put in some shading. And here's another block. Again, put in some shading. Let's have a little block here, and a bit of shading. And so we go on, sticking blocks onto our mountain. And you think, well, you know, how is that going to turn into an artistic looking mountain? Well, it will, trust me. There's another block. You can do them at all different angles. And I'll do one more here, and then I'll show you the finished one. With me so far? Jolly good. Now you can see that I've actually covered up something here. So let's open that up. Take that off. Now all I've done is just redraw the mountain. Now if you take a pen or a pencil and you look at your blocks and you just change the shape of the block, a little bit like we did here. We took the block and we changed the shape and put in some shading, and it became a rock. Okay, let's look at this one. Here it is. Change the shape. And look what we've got. We've got a rocky protrusion on the mountain, just put in a bit of shadow. So that block there became that. This one here, let's look at this one. Let's draw that one in. Shade that one in. Can you see how this is now becoming a protrusion on the mountain, a rocky outcrop on the mountain? Now, rather than doing all these for you, here's the one I did earlier, as if by magic. Here are all the red blocks that I drew, first of all, and now I've changed these blocks into stones or rocks, which are a part of the mountain. And all I've done is alter the contour lines very slightly and put in some shading. See that one there? These were just this is just the edge of the block. Now it's the edge of a rock. Here, this big block here, this has become a rock just by changing the contour and putting in some shading. Now, when you break something down like that, it just makes it so easy. When we looked at those piles of mountains in the book earlier, this all looked very complicated. You think, where do I start? But if you change it into just a selection of blocks stuck onto a triangle, and then change the contour of the blocks and make them look like rocks, it becomes so easy. Now when we come to paint a mountain, which is what I've got here, this is just a copy of that, all we've got to do is paint the shadows. And I'll do that for you. Now I'm just going to use one colour, but I'm going to use 3 tones of the same colour. So we'll start off with a lighter tone. Now this is not watercolour paper, and I'm not worried about getting hard edges, because if I get hard edges on this, I'll be actually quite pleased. So I'm going to go in with a lighter colour first. On this side of the mountain. Now I will, when I do the editing, I will speed this little bit up so that you're not sitting there for ages just watching me paint the details on here. A few little dots and dashes just to add a bit of texture, and there we have the finished mountain. Here's another little mountain that I've painted using exactly the same process, but this time I've used 3 different tones of an earth colour, and all I've done is paint the shadows. So you can see that by breaking our task down into 3 simple stages, that is, sticking some imaginary blocks onto the mountain, changing the contour lines so that they look like rocks or stones, and put in some shading, then it makes drawing a mountain so much easier. Have a go. I think you'll find you'll have great success. If you've enjoyed this video and it's been useful for you, then consider clicking that subscribe button and the little bell icon, because that will let you know when I upload another video for you. If you've enjoyed this one, then give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and remember, there is an artist in everyone. Goodbye for now.